Hi you guys, welcome to the Modern Shaman YouTube channel. This is a Q&A time where you all send in your questions and then I answer them from my heart. And we talk about all things paranormal, metaphysical, on our ascension journey in this kind of awakening into our own spiritual gifts and connections to the non-physical world. Also, if you want to keep in touch with my touring schedule, I will be in Chicago this weekend on tour. I will be in, Hawaii in May. I'll be in, what's my next one after that? Houston in June, Tokyo in July, and Raleigh, North Carolina in August. So I will be somewhere near you, hopefully, close enough to where I can get to you and give you a big hug. And I'd love to sit with you and see you guys if you are anywhere close to the cities that I'm in during the touring circuit. Please come out and see me and share some time. Also, if you haven't checked out my online teaching platform, you guys, it is awesome. And I know it's mine, but at the same time, I fully believe in why I made that. It is the same curriculum that I've been traveling around and teaching in these weekend intensive workshops for years. And I've put it in an online form to where you can download a video, you can watch it, you can get the handouts to work through the practice activities, you can have the meditations that help you journey into clearing and doing the work yourself. I walk you through shadow work activities, higher level vibration activations, as well as the psychic senses, just understanding and gaining an ability to use healing tools and psychic tools. It is an awesome program. It's a huge program. There are 44 different modules that you have access to online. But I fully believe in it. And if you haven't just checked it out, even just for your own curiosity, some of the modules are like $40. You know, they're not super expensive. And that's why I wanted to make them in a way that's accessible to you guys, so you don't have to purchase just the all masterclass, although you can, because that really has everything in it from start to finish. The masterclass does. But if you want to bit by bit pick module by module, that is also available. So you've got a lot at your fingertips. Please go to my website, check out ways that you can grow your own spiritual evolution and support yourself on this path. Again, the website's themodernshaman.net. All right, here we go. Question for the week. I'm going to read what y'all sent in and then we'll answer it from there. So it says, "Hi Rachel, I am a so-called super fan of yours ever since you made that first video on YouTube years ago." Y'all remember that? That was so terrifying to me the first time I did it. I was like, I videoed it and I put it out and I was like, Spirit told me to do it and I did it, but I was still kind of dragging my feet. And I put it out there and then I didn't go back on Facebook or on YouTube for a few weeks because I didn't want to see any responses. I was like, I put it out there, but that's enough. And we've come a long way, haven't we? We have come a long way. Now this is just like family on here, and I feel very open in my heart space and sharing space with you all. So thank you, super fan, for being with me in this evolutionary journey, right? Okay, let me get back to your question. It said, "I have a question about medication. How does taking medication affect our spiritual ascension and our psychic gifts? I feel like my anxiety medication makes me lazy or so chilled out that I'm not motivated to do my spiritual work, like meditate or get out in nature and do the processes that really help me spiritually. What is your advice on this with medication?" You're not alone. I think your question's very relevant. And I will caveat, of course, I have to say I am not a doctor. I am not a physician. So any advice that I give you, take heed with your own soul in what is relevant and resonant with you. Resonant means it feels right? You can feel it on an energetic core level, what feels right for you. All right, the first piece of advice that I will give you about medication within your ascension process is that so much of how the medicine works for us is determined by our alignment with that process. So what I mean is you've all heard of the placebo, right? Or the placebo effect. they found that in blind studies, placebos can have anywhere from like 10% to 100% effectiveness in these studies that they've done over the years. So what that tells us is that so much of what the effects are from any particular medicine is whether or not our neurochemistry lines up with the process that it's supposed to be inducing for us, or supposed to be creating for us, or the health or the wellness that it's supposed to offer us. So simply put, how we believe in particular medicines, or what we believe in terms of their effectiveness, is just as important as the medication itself, because our literal neurochemistry begins to mimic the impact and create the literal chemical changes in the body that align with what we believe the pill to do. So that's both positive and negative, meaning if we don't feel a sense of peace and cohesiveness with the medications that we are taking, if we're battling them, if we don't want to be on the medication, if we don't believe that it's good, if we don't think it's helpful for our body, if we don't think doctors are nice, if we have these belief systems that are negative already, then they will negatively impact the possible change that that medication can create in our body. So I would say first and foremost, be aware of your beliefs about the medications you're taking. And you kind of hinted to that when you said that you felt like the medication was making you lazy towards your spiritual process. So what can happen is that sometimes, and this often happens, and I see it with clients, and even myself, I've been through this process because I've shared before on other videos that I was on depression medication for a while. After I had my boys, and at different points, that's what I was told would help. And it was successful for me in that I felt like it enabled me to have motivation and all of these things that I wanted, that I felt like the depression was disabling for me. But once I began to do more research on my own and study what the chemicals that were actually in the medicine, I didn't like those chemicals. I didn't support those ethically and morally. And so my own psychological ethics began to pull apart and battle the medicine, and then it became less effective. And therefore, I had to work on my belief systems around it, or let go of the medicine and try something else, because the effectiveness started to create a sense of dissonance, and my body started having reactions to the medicine that it hadn't had at the beginning. So that first piece of advice that I would give you is to really notice how you feel about taking the medicine, because how you feel about it and your belief systems around that particular medicine will definitely impact the effects that that medicine has within your body. The second piece of advice that I will give you in terms of the connection with medication and your spiritual ascension process is that, in my experience, medications, or at least Western world medications, taking a pill and trying to get better via the chemistry and the chemicals within those components, is a relatively passive process. And so what happens with this is when we move into our passive action state of mind, we begin to kind of give away our power. Now, this is a little bit more metaphysical and talking about how this affects your spiritual process. But I've noticed that when we are in certain systems or structures that encourage a passive attitude towards our own life, our own body, our own health, it begins to disempower our sense of sovereignty, free will, our basic sense of evolutionary journey. And so we have to be very aware of the fact that when we take a pill and we become passive to its action upon our body, it reinforces a message that our inner core strength is lacking, that we don't have the inner stability and core alignment to say, I know what works for me, I know my body, I know how to heal, I can move into my own research to find out what's going on with my body, I can tune into my body. it begins to disempower the self and the sovereign energy and give away a bit of your own power to another system or process. And not only are you empowering the other process, you're giving it away in a passive action. And this takes a toll on our spiritual process because it basically moves into an inactive or dormant state in our sovereign nature, where we say, I'll just take the pill and it'll fix everything. I'll do this one little thing and it'll fix everything. It'll absolve me of any sort of action, work, or ethical choice that has to be taken on my part in order to develop a sense of understanding of what the core issue is or why this has come up in the first place. This disempowering action also moves us into a more sheepish type of mindset where we begin to follow what we're told. This is a lot of times what clients will share when they will come to a shaman and they'll say, I don't like traditional medicine, and I'll try to kind of excavate a little bit more of why. Why do you have those feelings? What's going on there in your belief system or your structure or your fears? And a lot of times it comes from this sense of being not heard or not valued, or feeling like you are mechanical or rote or sheepish in the way that you're asked to just blindly believe what you're told, follow and do what instructions you're given, not unlike military or any sort of strict system where it takes the power away from the individualized person and puts it in a collective kind of mob-based energy where everyone is doing it. This is what we tell everybody. This is what I'm seeing in all my patients. This works for everyone. And it takes the individualization and kind of neuters it. And your emotional sense is very disassociated and numbed out. And a lot of times they'll feel that kind of sterile energy. So be very cautious with the sense of how that translates into your spiritual experience. Are you just blindly following what everyone is telling you is correct for you or right for you in your life? Are you blindly following the guru or the spiritual person, or in a way that could turn cultish? Or again, disempowering of your own sovereign energy, your own sovereign temple and body, and learning more about yourself, what these processes mean to you, why your chemicals are imbalanced, and how you can come to a sense of equilibrium, wholeness, and health for yourself. That comes from your sovereign power of choice. So the third piece of advice, number 3, that I will give you about medications and your spiritual ascension process is that I have seen overall, and again, these are generalizations. I'm not claiming this to be true for you. You'll need to tune in and see if it feels resonant. But what I often see is that medications will delay our spiritual evolution because it moves us into a numbing out, or kind of like putting everything under the carpet. Say, for instance, you shared that you were on anxiety medicine. A lot of times the medicine will negate and get rid of a lot of the symptomatic experiences we were having, the heart palpitations, the chemical reactions in the body, and it will calm us down. It knows how to regulate the temperature of the body's reactions. And so it will take care of all of that, but it won't get to the root issue of why the anxiety came up in the first place. And this is where it slows down our spiritual ascension process, unless we're doing them both in tandem at the same time. And you can definitely do that. I'm not against medicine by any means, especially if there's acute pain or you're in a deep psychological breakdown. Medicines have a definite sense of relevancy. I'm not against it. But the point I'm making is if you're using medication and then not looking at the patterns that caused the original issue in the first place, then you're just delaying your sense of growth for the whole reason that issue came up to begin with. So for instance, I would look at patterns of anxiety. What induces the anxiety? What are some underlying belief systems there? What are those pain points that really trigger your sense of anxiety? And go deeper into that processing for yourself. There's so much hidden like diamonds and gems in our issues. They're there to speak and teach us and tell us about in what ways we have gone out of balance with ourselves. And so we want to be sure that we look at the root cause of what is creating the anxiety or the issue in the first place, the ailment that we're trying to medicate. Because these are huge pain, suffering, difficulty in the form are our most poignant spiritual catalysts. They make us want to change something, and they make us want to change it now or yesterday, right? Because it's like, you know what? I ain't dealing with this pain anymore. I'm tired of this physical depression. I'm tired of the anxiety and the panic attacks. I'm tired of the difficulty in my life or the migraines, whatever it is that's showing up in the body. Listen and communicate and learn to speak the language that your body is trying to tell you something through. So this is my third piece of advice, is to use and not miss the lesson that's involved in what's needing to be medicated in the first place. To dive deep into that shadow work, to dive deep into the issues that are trying to make themselves seen in order to heal your body holistically. So this is past life healing, this is karmic issues, this is ancestral trauma, this is personal PTSD trauma in this lifetime. These are just behavioral patterns that you've created or things that have not been serving or creating a sense of bounty and pleasure and balance in your life. So don't miss the lesson that's involved just by treating the acute symptom and kind of changing the chemistry in the body. Make sure that you're also looking at the emotional, psychological, and spiritual components of the lessons that are being brought forth through the body and how it's speaking and teaching you. So those are my 3 pieces of advice for you when it comes to medication and your spiritual ascension process. I hope you guys will stay tuned, be back here next week. I am sending you absolute love and joy in the meantime. Blessings.